See how it's red now? It's on.
Yeah, it's on.
All right, ready?
Sure.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the JG3 podcast. We have Carey Pemberton on the show today. What's up, Carey?
Not much, just a little nervous.
What you guys don't know, she almost beat my ass before the show went live because I just told her to say something into the mic and she got a little nervous about it.
Put me on the spot.
I did put her on the spot. But anyway, so we have Carey on the show. We could talk about any number of things, but I always like to start with going back to the beginning.
Yep.
It's always fun to hear about like people's first impression of the gyms or the decision-making process behind like what made you decide to come here. You were a pretty avid runner, right?
Yes. I ran probably about 6-7 years prior to coming to the gym.
And that was straight?
Yes.
All the time?
Straight years, yeah. I actually trained several times for half marathons.
Okay.
I did maybe 2 a year. So that's what kept me going with running. And in 2015, I ran, the last one I ran was in 2015, the Santa Hustle.
That's the one in, well,
Yes.
Santa gives it away that it's in December, but
Yeah.
that's up at Cedar Point, right?
Yep, and it was freezing cold. But it was my last and best time I ran.
And I think through conversations we've had in the past, you tend to like it a little colder when
Mhm.
you're running.
Definitely. I can breathe better.
Yeah, I don't, most people don't breathe well. I find, John Biggs taught me the thing that goes over the face, I don't remember what it's called, but I find I can start out that way, but as soon as my body warms up, I have to take that off.
Yeah.
And I tend to be able to wear just Under Armour pants and a sweatshirt, and I'm like,
Yep.
let's get after it and have fun.
Less clothes is better when running.
Less clothes the better for a lot of things, Carey. Anyway, so.
But yeah, so that was my last half, and at that time I was burned out. It's like, okay, I need to do something different. I felt like I wasn't getting the kind of exercise I needed.
Did you have, you said you ran 2 a year. Was there a thought process behind like, well, was it just this is my form of exercise? Did you have time goals? Was there like
time goals, form of exercise? That's what I knew. That's all I knew was running. I mean, I knew running would keep me, toned down.
Yeah.
But and then the times, I'd always had a goal at the time to beat. Columbus half was always my favorite in October.
I've actually never done that half.
That's the best. I mean,
I
just
hear that energy with
yes,
the
the
kids
energy
and
is
all.
awesome. Yes, music on every block. Just the atmosphere is amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I think I ran the Columbus half 3 times, and then I did the Toledo 3 times. I also did the Santa Hustle, and I'm not sure what the other one was.
Did you always go half, or did you do 5Ks as well?
I did 5Ks. I did the 10K Camelback several times. Actually, the Camelback was my first race I ran when I started running again.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but.
So you flash forward to 2015. It's been roughly 7 years of
running.
A couple halves or whatever per year, and you were getting burnt out. So that's December, and you didn't join until September.
Right.
So kind of walk me through, you were so burnt out you just needed some time away from exercise altogether?
No,
or
I
did you
was
get
burnt out
busy?
just with running period.
Just running period? So what did you do in between that period?
I didn't do anything. I wanted to join because you guys just opened, right?
We opened January 15th.
Yes, okay.
So we were.
So I was really interested. I think thinking about the gym in that time frame, I was like, man, I really want to get down there. It's just I was running and training and everything, so I just kind of let it go. Just had a lot going on. And
because we kind of had a kind of grassroots hype behind us. Like we didn't advertise at all. We didn't have signs on the building.
Yeah,
It's like one day I personally put out a Facebook post that said, I'm getting too big to do this personal training thing in my barn. January 1st, guess what? We're open.
Yep, I remember hearing about it too. Just didn't get a chance, and it was something I knew I wanted to do. And And then 2016, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2016, just didn't do anything from January through,
September.
yes.
So,
And
what actually got you from January to September where you weren't doing anything to finally go, you know what, I want to, was there a specific moment that triggered it, or you just went, all right, it's time?
it's time, yeah, I don't recall any specific moment to make me, you know, but yeah, I just knew at that time, it's like, okay. And Joe had been, I don't know if he was doing anything at that time, but he had done several, or a couple triathlons.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always riding his bike, and I was the runner, he was, you know, rode his bike all the time.
And Joe hated running.
Yes.
Joe
yeah.
despised running.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think he ever
So,
tell us that a lot.
We wanted to find out something that we could do together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the whole JG3 came in. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, we can do this together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually, I actually came back in like March of 2016, checked out the gym.
Was
Yeah,
that
you
here?
weren't, no,
Yeah, I
it was
probably
Debbie.
wasn't.
It was
Yeah.
Debbie. So, came to the gym, did a workout, loved it. But again, I had too many things going on, I think, at the time where I
Yeah.
wasn't able to. So that's when, that summer, I think, Joe and I.
Your guys' summers are always very hectic with
Yeah.
Taylor and Elena having softball.
Yep, travel ball. We're always busy, yeah. So I think we were just caught up with all that as well. And then September comes around, I think Joe came down here by himself the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he liked it. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, well then I'm coming down. and
Yeah, which
that's-
is always, you know, it's weird for me because I always hear all these gym owners and I'm part of all these Facebook groups and stuff. And I gotta find a way to market this better, but they're always like, man, how do you get women involved? How do you get women to want to work out? And I'm like, how the fuck do you get men to want to work out?
Right.
Like, I have the exact opposite problem. Like, we're like 75% women, 70% women, whatever it is. So it's like that exact opposite problem for everybody. But yeah, I do not remember either of your first visit. I mean, I'm sure I remember little bits and pieces, but the first real memory I have is, you know, Joe got kind of into it right away, and we were training for, well, actually like a month after we went, we had a team qualify for that event down in Miami, so we were going down there, and that's the first time I remember Joe like going, hey, keep me posted,
Yeah.
keep me posted,
Yeah.
like he was sending us text messages and all, and really involved in that, you know, he was always the biggest cheerleader,
Yep.
and when we got back, I had committed before we went to doing this event with Carey Miley, that was called CrossFit, and I was like, I didn't know anything about it. Me and Carey were coming off of like a 1.5-year stretch where she joined almost right away, and then we fucking hated each other for a while, so we went in, and I remember telling Joe about it, and he goes, me and Carey are doing it. And that's really one of my first memories of you guys working out.
Okay.
Is that stack competition, and it's the stupid things you remember, because I do remember your guys' workouts, and I remember
Yeah.
Joe dying on most of them and whatnot, and you always consoling him, but I actually remember it because I found out early on that you struggle hearing out of the one ear, and you only can hear out of the left ear, or whatever, and I was dying from the third workout, and I think you guys were the heat right after me and Carey, or
Yes.
very, very close to us. And I remember like, I'm like laying on the ground, or I'm not laying on the ground, but I'm talking to Debbie, and all of a sudden Debbie's like, hey, don't forget Joe and Carey are going. And I'm like on the complete opposite side of the gym. There's like 1,000 people in here, it's loud as hell, and I yelled something to you, and you like popped up like,
I think you said smile, Carey.
oh, I did. I said smile, Carey, because you
remember
back then you used to take things so serious, and I'd be like, smile, Carey, and you like smiled, and you like looked for me, and like when you realized how far away I was, it was like your face was like, how the hell did he get that loud? But apparently I can project my voice very well. But
you do.
that's kind of that moment was kind of the first, and actually we got that hanging up there. But I remember that was the first time Joe really, me and Joe really clicked on that trip, because it was just so cool. And then for me and Carey to make finals, and then have Joe, you know, the biggest cheerleader there, pulling some crazy shit out of us. it was just, that's my first real, like, Carey and Joe story at the gym. Yeah, I might remember little bits and pieces before, or that I think were before, or that might have been after, but that was the first, like, okay. Yeah, I told Katie Brinley, and I hope to get her on one of these days, like, she always jokes around about the welcome to the family moment, because she came and did some stuff with us, and she was hanging out in a hotel with us. We had like 15 people doing Spartan race, and we finished, and she's like, you just never left anybody behind. You kind of, we just had so much fun doing this event. And at the end, I'm high-fiving everybody, and she gave me a hug, and I said, hey, welcome to the family. And so that just became kind of a coin term, like, we all have those moments where it's like, okay, now it clicks.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my welcome to the family moment with you guys, I think. And then from that point on, it was just, we had so much fun in the gym, and we would just scream and yell every time you guys showed up. And for those of you that didn't know Joe or Carey, you guys are like polar opposite personality-wise. Like, he'd walk in and immediately want to talk.
I'd be calling him in. I don't want to be seen.
Yeah, you're kind of a quiet, behind-the-scenes person that's like, all right, you know. But in saying that, you know, once you remove it from this gym where it's more like, I'm always the same person, don't get me wrong, but I'm like my personality times 20% when I'm in the gym, because I'm trying to have fun and all. And I think some of mine and your best moments were more the behind the scenes, the one-on-one, where we're just kind of, you know, shooting the crap, or we're on a bus ride or something where I'm just kind of laid back, just decompressing and things like that. And that's when I realized how strong you were as an individual and how much you pushed Joe. Because Joe would always like have a little side conversation with me before the open or something. He'd be like, just really want to impress Carey and actually do a pull-up today or something like that. And I'm like, I think she's going to be impressed anyway. He goes, yeah, but it's not about her. It's about, I want to be impressed with myself and things like that. So, did you do the open the first?
No, remember, that's when I had elbow.
Oh, that's right. You had the elbow issue.
Yeah,
so you.
elbow issues, yep. I didn't do the first. I think it was the first 3. I actually did the last. Wait, I think it might have been.
We might be mixing up our timeline a little bit here. Because the first workout I remember you doing
was the first or
no, it was shoulder. It was 17.2. It was chest to bar pull-ups and overhead squat. No, squat snatches.
Yes, squat snatches.
And that was 2017. So yeah, you missed, and that might have been 17.3 with the third week, because you missed the dumbbell snatch burpee box jump over workout, and that was a bitch of one. And then I don't remember what the second one was that week. Oh, it was lunges and bar muscle ups and toes apart. And then you finally got to come in and hit your workout, and your face was priceless during that as well, because you're not a big fan of snatches and things like that. So you were
overthink everything.
You definitely overthought everything, but then you made it very, very deep into the workout, and that's what I wish people understood about competitions. Is it doesn't have to be you versus somebody else. Like, even though that's supposed to be a worldwide competition or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I've soured on how they've done it lately, but for me, the Open was never about the leaderboard and how you did against the world. It was always about like moments like that where you're the last one going in your heat, and the entire gym's just feeding this energy to you, and you just feel like, even though you were doing the work, we're all there. You know what I mean? And that's what I missed about the Open. Is I feel like we got away from that as the gym grew, and as more and more people did it. It became, you had these little side, you know, and it's harder when you have a smaller group versus you had 30 people on it versus 12. You're going to have those little side competitions, and you're going to have different feelings that get hurt or things like that, and you don't want to do that. But the Open here was always about those little moments where, you know, you and whoever you're with were either both still going deep into a workout, or didn't matter if you scaled, didn't matter if you RX, it was like, okay. And I particularly remember that one because it was so much fun, because it was, you had to do 2 rounds in the first 8 minutes, and then you earn the next
Yeah.
next 3 minutes, and then you earn the next 4 minutes, and then you earn, and so on. And it was like 24 minutes in, you're still like dying at the heaviest weight. And it was just so awesome because it was like, here, your first open workout was that magical of a workout. And then the next heat after that, Joe goes and he almost finishes the workout. And it was just like moments like that are what really define and make fitness fun. You know, I always tell people, I always tell my Trenton, when we go to baseball, when we go to football, when we go to things like that, and I try to do it with Elena when she asked me, I'm like, I understand you want to win. I get that. But smile, have fun. Like if you're not having fun, especially at this level, for both of them, high school or grade school for Trenton, it's never going to carry on to that next level. Because speaking from experience, I went from having a lot of fun doing competitive swimming to it was a job. So having fun and going back to our initial welcome to the family moment, which was smile, Carey. Like you want to have that fun. So we get past that first competition. That was really when everything came together, and then we had that first open. And then did we do any competitions between that and or was it stat the following year? Or was
I
the
think
next
it was
time?
stat the following year, but then we also had that one in,
Oh no, we did that one in October before stat. So we did the open and then we did that chalk it up one.
yes, the chalk up, yep.
Where we went to Akron.
Yes.
And that one we took buses down, we took teams of 6 down.
Yep.
And that one's a funny story. I can't believe me and Morgan didn't talk about this on the podcast, but
Debbie actually did the workout too.
Debbie did the workout too, which was when she told me she was never competing again. And she since done 2 competitions outside of that. But yeah, it was. We had a couple of good teams, and we had. That was the first time. Did you guys go intermediate or scaled or what? There was some movement there that we had never done before. I don't remember what it was. Was it the sandbag squats workout or something?
Maybe.
I just remember you guys killing one of those workouts, and I don't remember which one it was.
I know we had to do toast bars. The run with the sandbags.
The run with the sandbag would have been a workout you guys would have done good with,
Yeah.
because you're really good at running, and Debbie's like really solid at squatting.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest takeaway from that was, hey, the bus ride, we always have way too much fun when we get on.
Right.
You lock a bunch of us in
Yeah.
a car together for a while, and we
That
do a
was
lot of,
interesting.
who knows what's going to come out of right now, right?
Right.
Excuse me. But we had a point where our team, the other team was on the floor. We were doing.
And you guys were scaled, right? Or you guys were.
We were intermediate.
And we were scaled. Right?
And you guys were scaled, and they overprogrammed it, because if you remember, they only had 2 RX teams.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and they asked us to upgrade, and we were like, me and Carey were like, we could do it, but it was Morgan's first competition. And I was like, man, I just don't want to do I believe in team, and I believe in challenging everybody, and I'm like, if we do this, me and Carey are the only 2 on this team that can do a 25-foot unbroken handstand walk. We're the only ones that could do bar muscle ups. The weights, I think maybe 2 of us could have done the weights.
Isn't that when we did we do thrusters or shoulder
no,
overhead?
shoulder overhead.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 185 or 155, but it got very heavy for both guys and girls, and it was just, we could have done it, and we would have podiumed.
Yeah.
But I felt like that would have been cheating,
Right.
because you would leave feeling good about yourself for podiuming. How do you say that word? It's like earlier when we were talking about cleanly, whatever.
Right.
But anyway, I make up words all the time. But you would have been on the podium, but in reality, we wouldn't have been a team. You know what I mean? We would have had a lot of people standing around watching, and that's not what I'm about. But we got to our last workout, which was not your last workout, It was your guys' second to last workout, I think. Because the way this, for those of you listening that have no idea what we're talking about, we had 3 workouts and they started each group in a different spot.
Yeah.
So we started on the handstand walk, toe to bar, pull-up workout, and it ended on the rowing and shoulder overhead. And it was funny because we're walking down there and it was a Halloween themed one. So we were clearly not on the same team with Joe. And the lady or the person, you know, stops us and goes, only teammates are allowed on the floor. And Joe just looks at her, walks under the thing, and she goes, only teammates are under that floor. He's like, that's my team. So we have a picture of Joe screaming at Morgan, and he's, you know, we're all in lifeguard outfits, and he's in his green, whatever, Skittles shirt, and he's screaming at her, and that's always a good story, because you're like, oh wow, he just didn't care at that moment. It was, his team was on the floor, and that was just a really cool. I've never redone that event. I know Carey has, but I never felt the energy of that.
No, there wasn't, the energy wasn't there.
Because everybody was working out.
Yeah.
Not just at the same, we were all at the same time, but different workouts, so it was hard to.
Well, and you weren't able to get close to your, you know, the teammates. I mean,
Yeah,
they had the balcony where everybody was sitting, you know, but they had.
So it just wasn't very spectator friendly, and then it was the workouts were very difficult, which, I mean, competitions are supposed to be difficult, but they only had 2 teams sign up for RX difficult. Like, there's difficult and there's, we're going into business for ourselves difficult, and I understand, you know, if that's their prerogative, that's what you do, but I'm one of those, if I don't like the first experience, I'm not gonna attempt it again.
That was a workout where, when we were doing, I think, box.
No, we had the box step over
Yeah,
there.
Joe was
It
on
was
the
Burpee
ground.
box step over.
Oh, yeah, Joe was on the ground. Yeah, and he was getting over the line, and I was, you know, telling him to move over.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me, it looks like I'm stepping on him.
I'm pretty sure you picked them.
You're right.
No, because they had the lane so tight,
Yeah.
because you had 3 people working out, or 3 different workouts going on at one time, so, yeah, he tapped out. That was your guys' last workout, and he went full send.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Right after that?
Yep.
And he just struggled, and, yeah, I remember that. You were like, you were so polite, you're like, Joe, move out of the way, Joe, move out of the way, and then finally you're like,
Get out of the way, move.
Get out of the way so I can do a damn Burpee box step over. And it didn't help having the team that he did, because, I mean, you had great capacity, Debbie, even though she doubts herself, she's got great capacity.
Yeah, she's great, actually.
It's just when it gets to weight or things like that is where you guys struggled. So we wrap that one up, and then we go to year 2 of STAT, which this year we took the bus, and that's where Fresh Out of Bubblegum came from.
Yes, forgot about that.
So we always had to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning or some shit like that to get there on time, and we were riding up, and it's always funny when you're on those buses, because people don't realize, like, all of us wake up at different levels.
Right.
And I'm kind of a psycho all the time. So
well, I have my coffee, I mean.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there talking, and you know, most people are like, God, shut the hell up. And I got Joe going. We were about probably a half hour out or something like that. And I don't remember how I got.
Was Joe driving?
Joe was not driving.
Oh, he wasn't driving this time. Okay.
He was not this time.
Okay.
I don't
remember him driving.
I don't know which. Oh, he drove Chalk It Up.
He
drove Chalk It Up. Yeah.
Okay.
But he was not driving this time, and I got him going about something, and I don't remember how. I just remember poking at him, and you know, just giving him crap about whatever, and he just all of a sudden just out of nowhere is like, listen, I came here to kick some ass and chew some bubble gum. And I'm all out of her, I'm fresh out of bubble gum, and I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? You know, like what are you talking about?
I didn't even know where that came from.
And he's like, he said it again, and I'm like, okay. And then he told the story of the movie, you know, and we all kind of forgot about it. And then workout 2. So they always started that workout with Murph, which was a very good workout for all of us. And I remember Carey and I were on a redemption tour because we had bombed the final workout because it had muscle ups in it, and we wanted to go back and do really good, and we just came out like bats out of hell and destroyed Murph, and pretty sure we won that workout. We were feeling good, and then you guys did really good, and I mean, we had like 6 teams that year, 8 teams, and we all did pretty good. And then the second workout were thrusters and burpees, and I don't remember what happened, like my shoulder locked up or something during the thrusters.
Yes.
And I was pissed off as hell, and I went
You were
and
having a bad moment.
and the lady like popped my shoulder back in or something, and she's like, oh, well, there you go. We finished like 7th in the second workout, and I was angry, and I like walked back out, but typical me, I had my moment, she popped it back in, I come back out. I just remember at that moment I walked back out there, and you and Joe were doing synchronized burpees, and you're just like, you're on the burpee, and you're up, like, you're like, Joe, slap my hands, we gotta go. And I just remember yelling at Joe, just, hey, you want some bubble gum? And he like turned into a psychopath, and I'm like, oh shit.
Like, what's going on?
And you're like, where'd that come from? Like, it was a funny moment, because it was like someone literally shot him with adrenaline, just words.
Yep.
And it really changed the attitude of everybody. Like, all of our teams were like, oh, we're just gonna have fun now. And we went from what could have been a very detrimental, like my shoulder popped out of the socket or whatever happened. I don't remember what it was. I just remember my having real bad left shoulder issues, and I didn't even know how the next workout was gonna go, because it was kettlebell swings, wall balls, and box jumps maybe. And I was like, I looked at Carey, I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen with this. And then we went back out and we won that workout, and I was like, oh, well, I guess my shoulder's okay. But I always attribute that to Joe's attitude. You know, he was in a bad spot, and I had just had like a rough patch, and he was the one. A lot of people give me credit sometimes for pulling people out of their funks or always being positive, but Joe actually was the one that popped me out of it, because here I was feeling, you know, I don't want to say I was feeling sorry for myself, but I had physical pain, and I was like, all right, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
And Joe was like, well, no, we're going to have some fun with this, and we did. And we ended up tying for first place and losing on a tiebreaker. And but that's a moment that, again, we talk about moments that are ingrained in your brain. I can still picture it like it was yesterday. Like that was just such a cool moment, because Joe, just like I said, he looked, if I could paint a picture for those of you listening, he looked like, I'm trying not to be negative, but I'm going to be funny about it, but he literally looked like a fish out of water. Like, he would drop on the ground, and he's like, you know, hopping around, and you're like, what the fuck is he doing? And then he'd like get up, and then on the flip side, you're sitting there like, come on, Joe, like trying to be encouraging. So it was so two polar opposite attacks of the workout, and it was one of those moments where you're like, hey man, you know, whether in lightness or in darkness, you're defined by how you react to certain situations, and that's a situation you can easily, and in my opinion, I felt like, even though I had the shoulder issue, I felt like I used that as an excuse. Like, I've trained through some pretty shitty spots, and I'm like, hey man, I found a way out in that, and Joe during that same moment found a way to push into it and have a good moment, and it was just like, it reinforced as a coach. I'm like, wow, we're doing some cool stuff, and then on the flip side, I'm going, well, but you're a bitch and you quit, you know? So we came back and we had fun, and that to me, and I know we had a lot more cool moments outside of that, but that to me was the last time I really saw Joe in our gym setting. That was the last time I remember seeing Joe. You know what I mean? Like after that, I remember and it was around Christmas time, he started talking about not feeling the greatest the first time, and then he got better for a little bit, and then the 2018 Open, I just remember he would always talk about, you know, his head hurting or just not feeling right.
He just wasn't himself, and we were thinking it was the winter blues, you know, just in winter time, you know, just. And he was moving fine. It wasn't like he was in a bad spot or anything. I just remember I kept bugging him to go to the bathroom bathroom. Where the fuck did that come from? Wow, that's it's been a long day. There you go, people. That slip was brought to you by Cocliff. I don't know where that came from.
I was thinking, because we were always standing over by the bathroom, but I was just bugging to go to the doctor.
Yeah, yep.
And he was always afraid of them checking his prostate.
He actually, that he had never been to the doctor for a physical.
At all.
No,
That's
not
right.
at all. That was, no.
And he
And
was.
we were all trying to encourage him to go, just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he was, I mean, he was that, he's the typical man's
Mhm.
man.
Oh,
He
yeah.
can fix anything,
Right.
he's tough and
Yep.
things like that. And I kept telling him, but if you remember, he'd run in the bathroom to hide from me because I go, I'll take care of that. And
And-
every time I was near him, he was like, don't be
Uh-huh.
behind me because I fuck with him so
Yeah.
much. And I was like, dude, go to the doctor. Like, and he was still trying to do workouts and all, but he just, yes, he was still Joe. Yes, he was still smiling, but he didn't have that
Energy.
aura about him that
Yeah.
like, you know, you can feel the vibe off of
Right.
people sometimes. And it was like, you didn't feel that. Like, even when he was cheering you on and things like that, you didn't feel that energy.
Right, and here I am not feeling sorry for him at all, you know,
Yeah.
just get over it. you
Yeah.
know?
But it's, I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, and then we obviously got through the open. We were dealing, I was actually just talking to Carey Miley about this earlier. We had a fluke accident with Carey Miley. She was doing amazing in the
At the
open,
same time,
and then
yeah.
it was actually, they just announced that workout last night, so she's got to redo that workout tomorrow. But she's doing a workout, and I don't want to say I could have prevented what I'm about to say, but I knew something was off. She just looked out of it. Like, handstand push-ups are like really good for her. I'm like, man, something looks wrong. And I'm like, hey, we should stop. Just, you don't look right. She goes, I got it. And she does a handstand walk, and she just kept going, my head is pounding. And I'm like, and she had been dealing with some sinus stuff, so I'm like, man, maybe you're just sick, and we got to deal with it. And I'm like, we're done. She kept going, and we finished the workout. She runs outside and pukes. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, that's weird.
We were all like in
And I mean, Joe's just like, what the
Just
fuck? And I was like, what just happened? And later find out she had a stroke. So I'm still reeling from that, and I'm still focusing there. And then I text you on a Friday, or you text me on a Friday or something like that. It was Friday the 13th, right?
Yep.
And you
April.
text me your number and said, call me.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, this isn't good. And that's when I don't remember what,
I was
that's
in the
such
car.
a blur. I remember you were in the car.
I
you know.
was in the car, I was just getting ready to leave to go to Toledo.
Yeah,
And that's when I got, that's when I told you to call me.
yeah,
I called and I'm like, don't know what's going on with Joe, but he's got a brain tumor.
yeah.
And that's,
I don't even think I heard that. You
No.
told me here, because you started and I'm like, what? I'm like, what's up, Carey? And I'm like,
I think I started,
this is a weird, and you
Yeah.
immediately I don't remember if you were crying or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it was, but all I remember you saying is, I'm following the ambulance. Joe has, and all I heard was, I'm following the ambulance. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then it clicked that you said brain tumor, and I'm like, what do you mean he has a brain tumor? And
Yeah,
then you
that's-
explained, he was at work, and one of his coworkers noticed he was limping or he was dragging his leg. I don't really remember what it was. And you took him to Memorial, right? Or
Yes.
Permanico, sorry,
Yep.
whatever. But here in town, and they immediately did the CT scan. Is
they
that
did
correct?
the, well, yeah, they actually did like they always think it's, a stroke.
Mhm.
So they did the stroke test and everything was fine with that. And the doctor, he said that most doctors probably wouldn't have suggested it, but he wanted to make sure he got the scan of his brain. So
Mhm.
we're gonna do this, and so he did, and yeah, 20 minutes later, they come
Yeah.
and tell us.
And I knew the girls back then, but not like I do now. So I hadn't even thought about, that impact or anything like that. I was floored, and I remember, I don't know, I don't even think I texted, I think I called Debbie, and I was like, something's majorly wrong with Joe, I don't know what it is.
And it's just
But, and what's crazy looking back now is the way it all lined up, because as you're well aware, me and Debbie are very, very busy people,
Mhm.
like all the time. And I'm like, what the fuck do we got going on tomorrow? Like, we gotta get up there. And because you were like, he's having surgery first thing. And I remember you saying no one could see him Saturday, but I'm like, we gotta figure, like, and we just so happen to have Saturday we were busy, but Sunday we had wide open. And I was like, well, we're going to Toledo to see Joe. And it was weird, because me and Debbie very rarely like line up on our schedules like, whoa. It's not that we argue and stuff, but it's just, we'll prioritize something differently, where I'll be like, all right, well, there's no way in hell I'm missing Trenton's game, you know, where I'll push other things away to make stuff like that. But that was the first time we both were like, she's like, yeah, we gotta go. And I remember Saturday you texted and said everything went well. Actually, Joe, or was that Taylor? Someone texted me from Joe's phone.
Yeah, Taylor, I'm sure.
And it was him doing a little video of him squatting or something like that, or he's.
That would have been Sunday maybe? I don't even think he was out of bed though yet.
It was the day, it was the morning of the surgery.
Oh, before?
Yeah,
before the surgery?
Before the surgery,
Okay,
Saturday.
yes. Okay.
I don't remember how Taylor or how you guys worded it,
Yeah.
but he got up and he said something about he was doing air squats and I can't doesn't exist and he's got this,
Yeah.
and he wanted everybody to know how
Yeah, that was
positive
before
he was
surgery.
and all.
Right.
And
Yep.
I was just like,
he was going in that he was gonna be just fine.
yeah, and it was such a powerful moment,
Mhm.
because it was like, you know, I take very personally the fact that I came up with I can't doesn't exist, and that's the motto that I put out there, and it's what I try. And I'm like sitting here reading this text going like, I couldn't even read it. Like I go, Debbie, you gotta read this, and she's like, just read it to me. I'm like, I'm not gonna get through this. Just read it. And it was just so powerful, because it was like in that moment. You know,
Was that text from Joe?
I don't know if it was
That
from.
might have been.
I don't know if it was from Joe or it came from
Yeah,
Joe's
okay.
phone.
Yeah.
I don't remember who sent it, but it was so powerful, because in that moment, you know, 95 to 100% of people would be scared, would have
Yeah.
reservations,
Right.
and this guy's like
Yeah.
sitting here going, tell Carey we got this,
Yeah.
tell, you know, I'm like,
He was.
well, worry about your shit, and
He was
he's
fine.
he's got such an amazing will, and then, I don't think we brought the kids when we came up to see you Sunday, but I remember that's the first time, like, both Taylor and Elena, yeah, I came in and obviously saw Joe, and Joe grabbed my hand and he was like, we got this. That's the first thing he said to me, or actually he said, I'm not done, we got this. And I remember, like, it took everything I had to keep my shit together, because I wanted to lose it, but I was like, yeah, we do. And we just sat there for a minute and just let him. But that was when, like, Taylor would tell me some of her ideas of how she was going to try and get through it. And Elena was always is more quiet with how
Yeah.
she deals with that stuff, but you could tell she just wanted presence of people and Joe's parents and all, and just seeing everybody. But it was weird, because you walk into, you know, was he in an intensive care room? ICU, and it's an area where you walk into and you usually feel like eerie going in, and don't get me wrong, it was definitely a hard experience, but it's like you walked in and he had that energy of Joe was back. Like, that's the only way I can describe it, is where I kind of lost that sense of Joe having that energy that could uplift you, and in that moment I left going, he's gonna do this, like,
Yeah.
he's got this shit,
Yeah,
like he's
Yep. He was.
he's got it, and I remember other people would call and be like, oh, I don't think I can go see him, or this or that, and I'm like, well, I highly encourage it, because you know, it's a great time. Yeah, there's some. I do remember telling Taylor that one day I was coming back from a trip and he was still in Toledo. I think he got transferred the next day, and I stopped back in after a Chicago trip or something, and I just popped in and sat there, and he just held my hand, and I was like, this is fucking awkward, because it's two dudes holding hands, but it was like, you know. But those are the moments that you're like, okay, and you know, half the time he's asleep while he's holding your hand. He needs to know, you know, and that's when me and Taylor kind of started being smart asses to each other, because she'd be like, yeah, cover up your ass is showing, Jay, and I'd be like,
you had to go to the bathroom that time.
and I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. So it was, but it was always like that moment you actually got to see, like, the power of your family. Like, that's when it was like, I felt like the curtains were opened up, and I kind of just got to come in and be a member of it because, you know, Taylor was even using it so positively, and then, you know, I remember when she went back and did her first softball game and hit a home run, and like, she was so damn excited. I don't remember how she was messaging me, but I would hear about it or whatever, and it was just, it was so awesome. Then he got moved to
Sandusky for physical therapy.
Yeah, and that's when you started seeing the Joe.
I was sending you pictures, and he was doing.
He was doing like presses with whatever
PVC.
Yeah, PVC pipe, and he was just.
He was excited about it. You know, he was proud to say that he could do that. Yeah.
And he was just, everything they told him that he wasn't going to be able to do, he found a way to do it.
Yep, he was going to prove them wrong.
It was like, you know, I'm going to be back quicker than they say, and I'm like, okay, buddy, but don't, you know, make sure you follow doctor's orders. Like, I'm not going to contradict anything a doctor says. And he did, though.
Yeah.
He didn't take no for an answer. He was like, I'm going to do air squats, I'm going to do whatever.
I mean, he was telling his, the therapist, you know, every time he was out there, I got this, I'm gonna do this, you know, and he would, and, they were expecting him to be there for a whole week, and we were out in 3 days, and that Monday came around, and he's like, okay, and he'd tell me, he's like, Carey, I'm out of here today, you know, no matter what. And the doctors came in, and he's like, you know, I mean, tell him I want to get out. And there was a point when I said, okay, well, I need to do this and this and this before you come home. He's like, Carey, I'm coming home. And he got so mad at me because I was going to go home, and he's like, why would you do that to me? But he was bound and determined to make it happen.
Yeah, and I remember there's a video somewhere, I'm sure Taylor has it, when he surprised her and showed up to her game. And that was just such an amazing moment.
And he was using his walker, and I was standing next to him. He had to have one of those wraps around him so I could make sure that he was his balance. And he worked so hard to walk up there, and you know, he's like, I'm going to be there for her. And he walked up there, and Taylor just lost it. She was just amazing to see him.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't realize. It's, you know, I try to have a conversation with my kids about this. The things you have in your life don't fucking matter.
Right.
Like, sometimes we get caught up in the nice car or the this or that, but in reality, it's those moments are what you carry with you, and those moments are you know, for morons like me, the ones that end up getting tattooed on your skin because you're like, that's what I want to remember. And it's cool. You know, I've talked about this in the past. I don't really get into details, but for me, I had a broken relationship with my family. Like, I don't want to say I had a bad childhood. Like, I don't look back and go, oh, I was abused or shit like that. No, I wasn't abused. It was just I have a messed up relationship. So in those moments, it was like, you guys opening the curtain and let me and Debbie in. She would even sit there and go, like, as messed up as this will sound, like, Joe kind of gave me, or you guys gave me, not just Joe, the Pembertons gave me like a family to go, like latch on to. I don't want to say latch on to, but it was like, in that moment, like, you were my family, you know. So it was like, now my kids think that it's perfectly normal. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to see Joe, and I don't think that they realize that, you know, that we're not related. There are times where, you know, people are like, oh, where are you going? And I've said this to you guys. I got sick of telling stories, so I just call people, are you my sister, and Taylor and Elena my nieces now, because I'm like, I'm not going through this fucking story again. So people are just like, yeah, my sister, and we're like, oh, you're getting along with your sister again? I'm like, yep. We're like this, you know. But yeah, so it was during those moments that I was. You're gonna remember those for the rest of your life, and that's those times that I hope Taylor and Elena find a way to hold on to those, because I remember how I want to say dumb I was, but how immature you are when you're younger, and you kind of get consumed with the moment, and you don't really realize like the moments that should be remembered.
Right.
But I do remember he was hell-bent. Once he got home, he was coming back to the gym,
Yeah.
and it was like, dude, there's no way. And I remember that's where it slowed down, right? Because he got released in 3 days, and he's thinking he's gonna be back and able to do stuff, go to work, all this other stuff, and that's when it really slowed down, and he wasn't getting the clearance he wanted to, and that's the first time me and you came up with the idea of we're gonna just bring the gym to Joe and do a workout at the house, because he just he needed that surrounding, he needed that feeling of inclusiveness and all that other stuff, because he wasn't progressing, and I don't know what it was. The doctors were probably being very careful, because they're like, hey, you know, we know what's going on, and none of us knew any different, because I mean, in reality, after the surgery, Joe was Joe.
Yeah, he was getting better, you know, that's how we.
The only thing I would tell you, and you saw him a lot more than I did, obviously, the only thing I noticed is you had to avoid the right side of him, because he couldn't see anymore.
Right,
so there were times you're like talking to him and you'd be like, oh shit. And you'd see him kind of go like this, and you're like, oh shit, my bad.
Kind of like with my hearing.
Yeah, you have to just, So then it was stay on the left side of Carey, stay away from, stay on the left side of Joe, and it was one of those things. But I do remember, and I luckily have this on my mantelpiece, but I remember the first time he walked into the gym and was able to get on the assault bike, and it wasn't hard. It was just barely moving. But he's like, you're about to see a grown ass man cry over getting on an assault bike, and I'm like, that make two of us. And I don't know who took the picture, because it was one of those natural moments where.
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember. I really in that moment it felt like it was just me and Joe, and it was like. Yeah. We were talking, and we were having that, and that's why I love that picture, because that was raw. Like you can even see the raw emotion in that picture. You're like, wow, like that was just two really good friends, you know, appreciating life at that point. Like at that point, we take for granted how bad that bike is. But when you take that bike away, it was like, that meant everything to him. And it's not the bike, the bike's a metaphor, right? In that moment, he lost a chunk of what he really enjoyed since 2016, right? So that was when it happened to just be the day before we went over to your guys' house.
Oh, okay.
Because Joe P. him, as we labeled it, was the next day. And we showed up, and Carey Miley was actually able to go, and her and Joe were able to enjoy their time together. But that was just another one of those cool moments where we just had, 30, 40 people in your driveway working out. We probably looked crazy. I think it was raining, or it was sprinkling. I don't know that it was raining, but it was like, it was overcast and whatnot. But that was one of those cool moments where you're just, he was so happy to have everybody there, and you know, he had CJ running around. Didn't he shit like right in front of Corey Munster or something? It was just one of those like authentic moments where it was just natural, and I think that was the moment. No, it was not that moment. We went to, when did we go to? We shut down a restaurant basically. Why did we go to the Pacific? Do you remember? Was it him finishing the first round of chemo? Or was it him getting ready to go into his...
It might have been when he was getting ready to go.
Yes.
And that's the time that you guys got him the jacket, or...
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was getting ready...
Yeah, because it was July, wasn't it?
Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was...
I know it was hot out.
Oh, well... I don't know.
I know it was hot.
You know what? I think it was in September, wasn't it?
Might have been.
Right after his first round of chemo.
It might have been.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember we had to go because his food was going to start tasting different or some bullshit like that. I don't remember, but I remember calling Blue Pacific, which was one of my favorite restaurants, and I think I had taken you guys there, or me and Debbie had taken you and Joe there, and maybe the girls one day before. I think that's what it was. We went before his round of chemo.
Yes.
Because the taste buds were going to change and all. I'm like, well, let me take you to my favorite restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And just your family and our family went, and he loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him after chemo, as kind of a little motivator, we would get a big group together. And I remember calling back going, can I make a reservation? They're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, for 38 people? And she's like, huh? And I was like, yeah. You tell me when we have to make it, because I understand this. And I explained the whole situation with Joe and all, and she's like, we'll make it work. I'm like, okay. So we literally walk in, and it was packed when we first showed up.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of hanging out in the bar area, and we had reached out to Alec and Ben Smith and Rich Froning, because those were always the people Joe talked about. Like, he met him at, did he ever meet Rich Froning? He never met Rich Froning.
No.
But he met Alec and Ben Smith at the Winter Classic in Cleveland. And he would always talk about how they were just normal people and they were so cool to him. And I think that was his background on his phone, and he would just always talk about Krypton, and we would be like, man, we kind of might have messed up calling it Joe Peaham or whatever. And we reached out to him, and they ended up sending a blanket, no, not a blanket, it's a signed zip-up hoodie with a handwritten note. I remember that said, we're thinking about you, we're praying about you, this is to keep you warm during your chemo. And he was just, that was one of those, he was blown away. And it was in that moment where, like, no matter what happens, we got to get Joe to Krypton. No matter what happened. And, we pissed a lot of people off that day in the restaurant, because I remember we kind of took over the whole restaurant, so people were complaining. But we, whatever. I'm sure they made more than their fair share of on us that night. But so then we were going to go to Krypton
in July. We were going to go in July.
And Joe was not doing so hot.
No, I think he was in the middle of chemo and everything at that time.
And I knew both Ben and Alex Smith were out of town.
Yes.
So I ended up.
Joe was like.
Joe was helping them going.
Yes, he's like we
had to call Debbie in for that one, because he wasn't listening to me.
Yes, he wasn't listening to, right, exactly, yeah.
And then finally we came over to plan our trip that we were supposed to leave for the next day.
Yeah, we were going to leave the next day. And it was only going to be a weekend.
Yeah, but we were going to leave Friday, we had to be back Sunday.
Yeah, so it was going to be a quick one, so we didn't think it was a good idea.
And we walk in, and I remember, those of you that don't know my wife, she has a great way of telling you what you're doing and you agreeing without realizing you're agreeing. And Joe's like, I remember you asked him, and I'm like, Joe, I don't think this is a good idea. And he's like, nah, we got this. And I'm like, Joe, you're not, you weren't eating, you weren't, like, he just looked off. And finally Debbie goes, Joe, we're not going. And he goes, well, what do you, that's where the butterfly came from. What do you want to do? You want to put a band and go to butterfly houses or some shit? And Debbie's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So we ended up still taking the day off.
Yeah, we did that Friday.
And we just went to like goofy golf or some shit like that. And I don't even know that you know this. He grabbed me on one of those boat ride, like the kids and you guys were doing the bumper boats.
Oh, yeah.
And I went over and sat with him. And he goes, this was a smart decision not to go. He goes, I wouldn't have had any fun. And I'm going, I know. I said, despite what you think, we made the decision for you not to be an asshole. We were trying to do it for you. And that's when we settled that we would go the week before Thanksgiving. And I thought I invited everybody, but I forgot to send out the invitation, if you remember. I found that out well after.
Yeah.
But somehow the Englands knew about it. And then we added DC to the trip.
Since it's on the way.
And maybe you can elaborate on this, because the girls always had softball and stuff going on, so that was like your first family vacation?
Yeah, we never did any vacations. We did camping, but it was not, we never went out of state. I mean, we went to Georgia when my sister lived there to, visit, but never an actual family vacation. So yes, that was our first.
That was a hell of a first vacation.
Yes, it was.
So we're leaving,
My goodness.
and we're leaving the week before Thanksgiving. It's fucking snowing sideways. It was so bad. I almost spun out my truck on the highway. I've never driven more white knuckled in my fucking life.
And at that point, Joe he was kind of moody.
Yeah.
So I had, 8 hours of
Yeah.
driving with
It
Joe.
was supposed to, well, if you remember, we were supposed to drive 4 hours
Yes.
and stop.
Mhm.
And that would leave us about an hour outside of DC.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And it ended up taking us 10 hours to get 4 hours. So we did the Capitol tour.
Yep.
And then after the Capitol tour, we just walked down and went to the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Monument, then we hit the White House, and then we took the train. And it was actually Taylor and Talon's birthday.
Yes.
But this is where the Joe that I remember came back, because I pushed him in a wheelchair
Yes.
a long time.
Yeah, we sure did.
And that was because, as Scott England likes to put it, I was the only one Joe wanted pushing him
Yes,
in a wheelchair.
because
Every time you did it,
Yeah.
he would slam on the brakes or something with his hand.
He thought I was trying to push him off the curb or something.
Yeah. Flash forward 20 seconds later, I literally let go of him and run next to him going down the hill, and he's laughing his ass off, and I'm going, this is a stupid idea. This is at this point, a 240-pound man.
Mhm.
I don't know that I can stop this motherfucker before we hit the street, But he's laughing, and I'm like, all right, we're good. But I remember, I told Debbie I'd never complained once, but we got to the hotel after that, and I was like, I'm fucking whooped. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I pushed Joe up every fucking hill in Washington, D.C. And, but it was cool because we finished that, which D.C. is awesome to begin with. And then we got up and we went to the Japanese steakhouse. I think Taylor picked it, didn't she?
Yeah.
And we just had so much fun just eating and relaxing, and everybody was just so happy that we were finally, at this point, we're past DC and we're basically in almost to Virginia. Might even been in Virginia. And we knew, we were well on our way to hitting Virginia Beach and Norfolk and all, and then we added the stops, the shipyard,
Yeah.
which, again, that was, I got a lot of really cool moments with Joe on that trip because, for whatever reason, he didn't want to do a lot of the stuff. He still had that, I don't want to call it pride because I don't want to be disrespectful, but he had that, he didn't want to he didn't want help for everything.
Right.
So like when we were going down in the boat, he didn't want someone to sit there and go, oh, well, I'll help you. He's like, no. So we had a couple moments where we're just sitting on the ship deck of the USS Norfolk, or not Norfolk, the fuck was it called? Whatever, I got a picture of it somewhere. I don't know if it's on that wall. I don't know where we put it. But anyway, we were sitting on the ship deck in Norfolk, Virginia, and we're watching the sunset, and he's just like, I'm so happy my girls get to do this, and this is so peaceful, and it was a really cool moment. And then I had the heart-to-heart with him that he was a little upset with. I go, you realize tomorrow when we go to CrossFit Krypton, there's a very small chance you actually get to work out, because you just haven't done shit in a while. And he goes, it's all right, man. He goes, I just want to go feel the experience. And what was cool, did we all talk about wearing our Joe P shirts, or did we all just happen to
No,
do it?
we talked about it.
Because we're the only type of gym that can walk into another gym, outnumber them, and all look the exact same. And I just remember walking in, and I think it was Ben's mom was the front desk lady, and we told her who we were, and she's like, oh yeah. And it was so cool, like the workout, who gives a shit about the workout? Like, it was fun, but I could tell you the workout just because I remember that day very vividly, but it doesn't matter the story. I remember I was finishing my last round. Adam Klink came and grabbed me, and he goes, hey, I'm going to say something in the class, make sure you guys don't sneak out right away. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And I was like, so we finish, and typical JG3, we're high-fiving everybody, and like 3 or 4 people ask me, like, what's up with your guys' shirts? And I'm like, oh, you see that dude over there sitting on that bench, like, brain cancer, and told the whole story, and then everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, or not cool,
You're right.
the support is cool,
Right.
like, I want to make sure. But it was like, I still hadn't put 2 and 2 together what was about to happen, because I had shared with you several times, I'm like, how pissed is Joe going to be if Ben or Alec aren't there? Like, I was stressed about it, and then he's nowhere to be seen.
That was the whole reason,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, fuck. You try to pull something off, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to have to deal with Joe after this, and just tell him, I did my best. And hopefully he understands. And when Adam addressed the class is when I put 2 and 2 together on what was about to happen. And he goes, hey, just want to say, and he goes, I've been sitting, and I did notice that Adam had stopped working out during the middle of class, and every time I looked up, he was just sitting next to Joe.
Yeah,
and he appeared to be getting emotional, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on over there, but okay, no, I'm not going to worry about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he addressed the class, and I don't remember what he said at this point. It's all a blur, because I realized what was about to happen. So everybody kind of gave Joe their support and everything, and then he goes, so we got a little surprise for you, and Ben walked in, and in that moment I was like, holy fuck, we did it.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Had a
just
big smile on it.
like, it was so cool, because I was like, all right, Ben's gonna say what's up, then we're gonna get out of here. Then he walks over, and Joe was wearing his Krypton sweatshirt, and Ben goes, that one's kind of way too beat up. How about I get you a new one? And he signed it right in front of him, and we got pictures of that and all. But the weird thing was, then he goes, I'm just gonna sit down, and you guys hang out as long as you want. And he just sat there for like ever.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane how long, like, and Joe just had such a peaceful look on his face that it was like, he'd be like, hey, watch Trent can walk on his hands, or hey, dude, like, and everybody was just, in that moment, we were all soaking it up, because like, Scott England, who barely ever shows emotion, is like grabbing at me like, dude, and I'm like, I know, like, it's, but it was so awesome to just have the whole reason we went, the whole reason he wanted to go on this trip was to basically thank Ben for being a great dude and supporting him and sending his sweatshirt and all, and for them to spend as much time as they did was just so awesome. And I even think, I've never talked to them about it, but I even think Taylor and Elena felt the magnitude of the moment, because they were just, nobody was in a hurry to leave. And then, I don't even remember how we finally said we were leaving them, but I think I finally just asked Joe, are we good now? And we asked a couple more questions to Ben, and there's some stuff that I won't share, because Ben was such a cool dude that I'm never going to share some of the things he told us. And it's not negative things or anything like that, but he treated Joe like Joe was the most important person in the world that day. And for that, I will always be forever grateful. I mean, he's still my favorite athlete at this point, because I'm like, oh, that dude is awesome. I don't know how you felt after that, but we left and we got in the car, and I had like a huge mental like, it was like a huge crash, like, holy shit, we did it, and now we gotta drive 10 hours back home.
Yeah, we left to go back home.
Yeah, we left. Well, we ended up driving halfway and staying at a hotel, and then we got pizza or some others. But either way, it was like, that was a huge.
I was just very happy for Joe being able to meet them.
Yeah. Didn't we go to where they recommended for lunch or something too, or because we had to get your car fixed.
I think they recommended a place, but I don't know that it was open.
I don't remember. But either way, we leave, and I just had a huge mental just drop off, because it was so awesome, but it was like, how are you going to top that?
Right.
And then we got back, and that was, I don't even know how I want to word it. Like, it was like, that was the peak. And then I remember our anniversary party, Joe came, and he just didn't seem like himself. And
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, he's, at that point, I think the cancer was really
Well, all I remember is.
December, right?
Yeah, it was in December, and
Yeah.
I remember I was in Texas,
Yeah,
and I had a little break, and you text me, you're like, hey, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but Joe's gotta go in for another scan,
yeah.
and the cancer was
Yeah,
back.
it was back on the left side this time,
Yeah.
which affected more of his,
Yeah, which affected more what
Yeah.
we knew as Joe.
Right.
Where he was always fighting stuff, we just didn't realize
Yeah.
it. And that's when he pretty much just stopped communicating with
Yep,
us.
he stopped talking and he started getting confused at that point.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing that a lot of people don't, they push away from, or I was telling Debbie this, one of the things that I'm proud of, but I'm also like, it brings back bad memories, because the last time I was still talking to my family, my grandpa had passed away, and I refused to go to the casket. I didn't know how to handle my emotions and all that, and with Joe, it was like I didn't have a choice. Like it was too important. Not that my grandpa wasn't important.
Right.
It was just I didn't realize how important it was. And then with Joe, when we were going through all that, it was like I remember the morning you had texted and said that it had happened, and I was like, I'm canceling the gym today, and Debbie's like, you can't. Like, what the fuck you mean I can't? Like, I just lost one of my best friends. Like, I don't want to fucking go see anybody. She goes, you have to. And I'm like, why? And she goes, because people need this right now. And I'm like, but I don't want to be that guy right now. I want to be in pain. And she's like, you're not allowed. And I'm like, I got it when we got here and everybody showed up and we really didn't talk. We were just enjoying each other's company. It was like, I get it now. I understand what Debbie was saying. And then we went and we tried canceling lunch with Taylor and Elena. And because we were supposed to take them out to eat. And they said, we need to go to eat. And then I was like, I'm not even arguing this one. So we picked them up and we took them to eat. And that whole day was just, it was surreal because it was like such a sad day, but we all just kind of hung out together and helped each other through it, so to speak. So played just board games and other stuff. And it was, that taught me a lot about the power of unity. You know what I mean? Like it was, yeah, you're going through it, but it's not just you going through it. You know, like I wanted to feel sorry because of my own personal reasons. I'm sure you felt similar, where you're going through it, where your personal reasons, and Taylor's going through. But in that moment, it was like, but if we're all together, and it's going to be easier. And it was like, yeah, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't want to be together right now.
Yeah.
But it was a whirlwind of a handful of days where it was just. There's still days where I'm like, it's not real. Like it's
Right.
tough, and you know, it really hit me the worst after Ironman. Like Debbie's the one that pointed out after Ironman, and really after our fundraiser, it was like I had nothing else to plan for. So it was like, we're flying, and she goes, why you look so depressed? And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have nothing to plan, nothing to do. Like, I'm just me again. And she goes, you'll be all right. And I'm like, okay. You know, that's where everybody says I'm the strong one. Debbie's the real rock in this, because I'm all over the board. And Debbie's, and I'm sure that's kind of how, and getting to know you guys, that's how you kind of are with Joe and the girls is, you know, we all are reactors. We're all like, you know, we want to get riled up and we want to run our mouths or whatever. And you and Debbie are more the, well, let's let this play out, and then you guys will realize how stupid you are right now. We're not stupid, we're right. And then 2 days later, we're like, you were right, you know. And it's an adjustment, but it's been awesome. Because like I said, it's not been awesome, but you know what I mean? Like it's been, I remember the first time Elena Snapchatted me just to shoot the shit. And I'm like, do you need something? And she's like, no, I just wanted to catch up. And I'm like, okay. And then she'll go 4 weeks without saying a fucking word to me. And I'm like, okay, all right. Or Taylor would just check in with me for whatever. And it's, you know, you can tell it's authentic. You know what I mean? It's not like,
Right.
it's not like they're just checking in because they feel like they have to, or I'm not checking in with them because they have to. It's just I genuinely care, or they genuinely care. And you know, I was telling this story right before we hit record. Taylor came back for CJ, and we all went to eat last Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, right about this time, and she gets out of the car, and my kids go running across the road, and she's so happy that they're running up to her to give her a hug, and they ran right by her, and she's like, you know, it's just little moments like that that are just amazing. That now, yeah, it sucked. It was tragic what happened, but I've said this thousands of times. That's the legacy that Joe left. Is, you know, he's got a bunch of people that will never forget what he brought to the table and what he said. And now there are people that have never met him that are out there preaching, you know, fresh out of bubble gum, I can't, doesn't exist, whatever it may be. And it's awesome. Like that's the coolest thing. I told Debbie I never want to give another eulogy, but I think it's one of the most powerful things that you can get asked to do. And I don't, as you're well aware, I don't get nervous very often.
Right.
I don't practice speeches. How many times did you ask me what we were going to talk about on this podcast? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. That's the only time I've ever practiced a speech in my entire life. Like, I read it to Debbie 900 different ways. I'm like, does this sound too much? Like, because I just wanted to deliver the right speech for him. You know what I mean? I didn't want it to be about me. I didn't want it to be about it. Like, I just wanted to be exactly what Joe would have wanted. A little bit of, you know, telling a good story, a little bit of humor, but really being about he never gave up, and he never did that. Never will give up that fight. And it's cool that we get to live that legacy for him. And now, on his birthday, we got some fun shit coming up, right?
Yep.
You're bringing Debbie out, as she swore she would never compete again.
That should do a workout.
And she's going to, and she's paranoid. She's like, oh, Carey's gonna hurt me on that. But you turned into a, not that you weren't before, but you definitely upped your game the last 6-8 weeks. It's been fun to watch. You're back to having pull-ups, toe to bars, and what is that motivation right now? Is it just
Just trying to better myself. Just trying to feel good.
Yeah.
You know, be healthy, and just something to work for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, have goals in mind just to keep going and just.
What do you think's been the biggest change on that? Do you think, because I know you, I don't know how to say that politely without sounding like a dick, but you slimmed down a lot, and is it, I know from knowing Joe, he was more the meat and potatoes and big portion sizes.
Right.
And food was a social event.
Yeah.
Food wasn't just a means to an end.
Right.
Is that part of the shift? Where are you feeling better?
I've never really been like that. I'm more like, you know, I kind of always watch what I eat.
Yeah.
But just, you know, cutting back on what I eat and, you know, stay away from the sugars is my big thing. Because and pasta. I mean, I do eat, you know, bread and pasta occasionally, but I watch my portion size. And just,
You're the type that we can go to a restaurant and you'll order the salad when everybody else orders
steak and potato. Right, I just always was conscious about that. And always making sure I'm drinking my water. And I think the big part was I was doing a lot of that prior to wanting to make some changes. But I'm like, okay, I wasn't working out there for a long period of time or consistently. Just because of, you know, activities and all that stuff. And I told myself, okay, I got to get to the gym at least 4 times a week to make this work. And that's when it started. I started losing the weight and the inches, you know, and continued with my eating habits. And just, you know, and the working out is what I think really has helped out a lot.
Do you notice, once you get that positive momentum, I don't want to call it an addiction, but it becomes easier to, like, you're like, okay, I get four days a week, and that first week you really don't notice anything
Right.
other than extreme soreness. You're like, fuck,
Right.
is this really worth it?
Yeah.
At what point did you go, ooh, I'm noticing this is worth it, and you're noticing more compliments on your arms or your back muscles, or you're just thinking, what was the first time where, was it you internally, or was it someone saying something to you where you're like, oh, it is paying off?
Personally, it was me because I was quiet about it all. I
Mhm.
didn't, talk to anybody about it. I just wanted to do it for myself, and
Yeah.
so even just like 6 weeks after, making the change,
Mhm.
I started noticing, my jeans are fitting looser. I feel great.
Mhm.
I could feel a difference being at the gym. I felt lighter, so
Mhm.
things were coming easier for me.
Mhm.
Doing like the toes to bars. Of course I didn't get them right away, but I
Mhm.
just, even just doing the knee raises, I felt lighter, and
Yeah.
so it's just over time I just started noticing.
Yeah, you just get that little,
Yeah.
they're incremental wins.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything different than what I normally would, besides working out. So I feel like I really don't need to change anything right now.
Mhm.
I just gotta keep continuing what I'm doing, and I don't feel like it's a chore or it's it just feels like a natural thing for me to do. So if I can just keep.
You're one of the few people that seem to be able to work out, and in the middle of the workout, be kind of, you're intense about it, but you have that you aren't afraid to laugh or smile or be like, okay, I am having fun. And I know I've luckily got to work out with you a handful of times where I've done open gyms or whatever, because my schedule was always messed up, and I took a long time away from just traditional workouts to do Ironman. I remember actually, there was a time when I would do a workout here with a partner, and there weren't a lot of people, and this isn't to try and sound mean or anything, but there was a lot of times I was going at their skill level, purposely to make it enjoyable for them. And I remember the first open gym workout, you're like, I don't know, make it 30 minutes and make it tough. And I'm like, you want to go for 30 fucking minutes? Like, I don't know if I feel that. And I'm like, all right. And I wrote down a rep scheme, and then you're like, skier, row. And I'm like, I need to put something in here that slows her the fuck down. So I put like hang power snatch.
Yes.
Your face is like, I don't want to do those. And I'm like, all right, we're good here. And I'm like, all right. So I would purposely put stuff in there, but we're doing the workout, and I'm like trying to pretend to not be dying, but I'm pretty sure I'm dying a little bit. And then I look over, you're just still pulling at the same rate. And I'm like, she's trying to kill me today. And then eventually your rate would drop off just a little bit, and I'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna pretend to be okay for this 10-second period and make her think I'm okay, because we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
And then you'd fall on the ground, and we'd be like, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I noticed the biggest difference in you, is actually sharing the floor with you, quote unquote. Just the way you were moving, the efficiency with which you move. Like a lot of people when they're first starting out or they're struggling with something, their efficiency or their movement pattern changes because there's an old saying, fatigue makes cowards out of everybody, right? Once you get tired, everybody quits, right? And I don't know, it might have been Muhammad Ali or a famous someone said some shit like that. Quote me on that. But that's the biggest thing I noticed, is it was 26 minutes into a workout before I seen you even show symptoms of fatigue, and I'm like, where did Carey come from? Because I subconsciously knew, obviously I was seeing you more frequently, the consistency was back, and things like that, but it was like, where'd she come from? Like, it's not until you like, I don't want to say we were pairing up against each other or anything, but it was like, not until you're doing the exact same thing, where you're like, oh, Carey's fit. I'm not, And it was, we did like 3 Sundays in a row where we did that.
Yeah.
All 3 Sundays, I was like, I'm gonna go program fucking hella wall balls so she dies tomorrow. I'll get payback from
thrusters, jeez.
So we are gonna let that secret out for those of you that are listening. The recent rash of wall balls, burpees, rowing, road climbs are strictly to get back at Carey Pemberton.
Well, it did.
It did. One day we were saying, I'm like, nobody likes wall balls, and you're like, I like wall balls, and I'm like, okay. I knew you didn't like rope climbing.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like,
Rope
I'm gonna throw
climbing.
these in a damn workout and see, and we've done that quite a few times now.
Yeah.
If you could pick any one workout, if you're making it, can be team, can be individual. Have we broken the wall balls of being on that yet? Or if you had to pick 4 movements and you're gonna
Would I
make a
still
workout,
want wall balls?
what 4 movements would be your favorite? Is running on that list again? Because we're gonna circle back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You started here because you were burnt out from running.
Yes.
You're back to running a little bit.
Yeah.
Would running be on your top 4 movements now?
I don't think so.
Ooh,
I mean, not for a workout.
not for a workout.
No.
You still like to just go run,
Yeah,
not in the middle
right.
of a workout.
Right.
I
Yeah.
gotcha.
A workout for me would be. I think the wall balls would have to stay.
Oh, the wall balls are staying. What else is in there though? Box jumps.
Gosh, seriously?
Would you put those on? You made the box like 3 times and you still have them on there?
I don't know why I like those movements, but I'd have to say the box jumps. Seriously, box jumps.
Wall balls.
Wall balls. Okay, now let me think here because I gotta have a bar movement in here too. I'm still not about snatches just because I'm not comfortable with them yet.
Yeah. And we got away from doing them for a while there, and
Right.
you had to put it back
Well,
together.
I think I'm figuring out the cleans.
I remember the first time I told you to shut the fuck up and clean the bar, and you were like, I don't even think I can do that, and we hit like a 40-pound PR.
Yeah.
Because you were using like 65 pounds,
Right.
and we got up to
Yeah.
like 125
120,
or
I
something
think.
like that.
120,
120.
yeah.
And that showed how strong you were and whatnot. But I would say cleans would be on that list.
Yeah.
But I also know you're the type of person that I've told you this before. I've tried to give you a workout, and you're like, well, I'm not comfortable with cleans unless you're watching.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
can assume I'm watching, so cleans are on that list. So we got wall balls, cleans, box jumps. What's your last movement?
Well, I guess if, once I get better at them, I would have to say toes to bars.
Toes bar. You do work toe to bar a lot. So I would agree with those 4.
Yeah.
If you said rope climbs, I was going to call you a liar.
Don't even bring up. Those are tough, I'm able to do more of them
Mhm.
as time, because it used to be where I was only able to do one when I was
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
But, I'm getting.
It's just like anything. Me and Tyler were talking about it earlier. We were snatching right before you showed up. And at this time last year, I had not transitioned to Ironman yet. I was doing a lot of strength work. And I was Tyler and I were routinely snatching 185s, 190, and today we're like at 150, 160 going, why is this so damn heavy? If you don't work stuff, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting is, on the flip side, there always seems to be movements that no matter how little we work them, we just have this mental ability to do. For me, rope climbs has always been that movement where I'm like, I love rope climbs, you put them in a workout, I just, it's my jam.
Mhm.
And then we all have workouts that are movements that mentally defeat us before we even try
Yeah.
it at
Yeah.
times. And those are the
Yeah.
ones that I always tell people, despite fitness being fun, and you should make it fun, number one, do more stuff that you dislike, and life becomes easier,
Mhm.
Part of the whole point of this was Joe's attitude towards everything, and I truly believe him doing a lot of things that he didn't like doing in the gym, in life, whatever, it allows you to roll with the punches a lot more, you know, like when you eat shit in a workout time and time again, it humbles you, but it also makes you more willing to go, that wasn't that bad. It's the worst that can happen, you know? So it's interesting to see the people that come in and will always try and do one style workout versus the ones that come in and are willing to mix it up. The ones that mix it up generally progress at a higher rate. In saying that, if they're not having fun doing that, they also will burn out a lot quicker. And just like you're running, no matter how much you enjoy it, after a certain period of time, you gotta walk.
Well, you know, when I ran those 6, 8 years, whatever it was not that I really enjoyed it, because I just knew that was an exercise I could do that would keep me, you know, fit.
Yeah.
It would. The reason the reason I did the half marathons was for me to have a goal to do something or to run. Now coming into the gym, it's like I don't have a day where I don't not want to come.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing for me. Like because running, it's like it was a chore for me to have to go out for a run. It's like, oh, I really don't want to do this.
Yep.
But then coming to the gym though, I would come just because I was wanting to, and I look forward to the challenge and look forward to the workout.
Yeah, it's, I think one of the best and worst things that happened to me was committing to Ironman. It was awesome because I got to get out of my comfort zone and do something that was very foreign to me. And it came at the right time in my life personally. I was just, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I've been training people, I've been coaching people, and I've been working out a long time, and it gave me a chance to reset my brain and my body and just go, you know what, we can get away from this for a while. And it sucked for a while, but I finished the Ironman and I came back and I didn't really want to do anything at first. And then slowly, you know, when you first come back from something like that, it's like, oh, I lost a lot of strength, I lost a lot of, and I really didn't. I lost this. I lost that mental, you know, it's a different mental battle, but it became fun again. You know, now I'm back to looking forward to doing the workouts. We're back to having a lot of members that have never seen me work out, so now I'm getting to jump in and hit those workouts and rebuild those relationships that I've kind of gotten comfortable with everybody. So it was like I could kind of get away with doing my own thing when I wanted to, and I reset the mind to what was and wasn't important, you know. And there are times now where, hey, I don't get to work out because my day takes a shit and I don't care anymore. Like, there are times where it's other things are more important, and I'm okay with that now. When back before Ironman, I wasn't, and I'm thankful for that, as weird as that sounds. Like, I still really want to be a fit person. I still have a lot of unattained goals that I want to get to that point, but I don't know what they are yet. Right now, I'm just trying to come in and have fun and celebrate the fact that we got a lot of cool shit going on at JG3 that I still can't announce yet, and just enjoy the fact that I'm surrounded by so many awesome people. I said this on the podcast with, I don't remember, it was Joey or Christina. A lot of people don't have the support system that we have. So I talked earlier about not having a very good relationship with my family. I have a lot of phone numbers in my phone that I can text and be like, hey, I need this right now. And I'm comfortable texting them, and I feel like they'd be comfortable texting me, and I'm like, that's the biggest win you can have. So it's awesome having those relationships. And it's awesome just, you know, just trying to be more grateful with, you know, we've been doing nightly prayer night with our kids, and it's just, every night we roll this thing and we come up with it. It always seems to come up with it. I'm grateful for, or I need to work on, and usually the days I'm having a bad day, it's I need to work on, and it's like, don't get so pissed off. On the days that I'm grateful for, it's like, it's hard putting into words all the things that I'm grateful for right now. We've talked a long time. I've talked a long time. I don't know how much you talk. We're gonna time it. But you did better than we expected. But I always like to leave. The guests with kind of an open floor. I ask them a question and let them kind of hit on. With Trey, it was the top 2 books that he would recommend. With Christina, it was, or with Joey, it was Life Changes or something like that. I don't remember. With Christina, it was I shouldn't say what it was with Christina. With you, what advice would you give people? Or let's say you're looking Taylor or Elena in the eye a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever, and they start to hit that point where life happens, right? And I know they're more mature than some people because of what they just went through, but what advice would you give someone that's just going through a rough time, and how do you get through the other side? Have you thought, like, because you're, in my opinion, one of the most powerful things that represents Carey Pemberton is, I never heard, as much as we give Joe credit for not complaining, not whining, you were so inspirational during all that because you had to sacrifice a lot to support your family, and you were there when I've witnessed Taylor and Elena weren't being the nicest people in the world to each other, and you always stayed calm, and you were the rock that held everything together. So is there a way to put that into words for people that, I don't know that there's a way to put that into words, but if you could.
You can't take life seriously. You have to, don't look back. Just look forward and just make the best of each day, and you just have to go with the flow.
It's that easy.
You have to. There's no other choice. Seriously, and don't let things take you down. Just.
There's nothing you can change about yesterday, so you might as well move forward.
Move forward and just.
That's awesome.
Seriously,
that makes sense, because if you sit there and you look for this magic thing that you're doing,
it's not going to happen. You just gotta go with it. Just go with it. And
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I've said it to you several times personally, but you're one of the most inspirational people. I'm proud to call you my sister. And thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're very uncomfortable doing this. Do you have anything you want to plug before we leave? Anything you got going on that you want people to know about, or just you're already?
No, I'm just Carey. Just Carey.
Just Carey, and she's taking it every day at a time.
Take it a day at a time.
For those of you that
and always keep a smile on your face and always think positive. Seriously, it just doesn't do any good to have a negative thought in your head. Doesn't get you anywhere.
There you go. For those of you wondering, February 1st, which would have been Joe's 47th birthday, we are doing the 15-13 fitness snowball games.
Yes.
We're going to get a few teams together. I'm teaming with Mr. Scott England. He's not looking forward to it. You'll do good, Scott, don't worry. My wife and sister are going to be doing it together. We're looking forward to that. We got a handful of other teams, so that's probably going to be the next big thing that we do as a gym that I can announce currently. Stay tuned. Follow us at JG3 Fitness on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. This has been the JG3 podcast, where I Can't doesn't exist. Boom. See, that wasn't that bad. Oh, bonus coverage.